Month. Today, our topic will be focusing on community engagement and science education, careers in the life sciences industry. It is hosted by the LifeSci NYC internship program. We will start the presentation shortly. Just to give you an overview, we will start with a quick program introduction, followed by our panelists will be introducing themselves. Panelists, they will be discussing their career paths and offer advice for students considering entering this field. This event will conclude with an opportunity for a Q&A. At any time, feel free to write any questions you have in the chat. We will be answering them at the end of the presentation. You'll also have the opportunity to ask any questions out loud by using the hand raise option on Zoom. Just letting you know that this session will be recorded and the video link will be shared with you after tomorrow via email. And in the meantime, Sharon has shared in the chat with links for our program, so you can feel free to click on that. And then we'll get started I'll wait for 2 more minutes. And if during these 2 minutes, it would be great if you could introduce yourself, our attendees. You could let us know your name, what you're studying, why you are interested in today's career panel, what school you are attending or attended, just so that we have an idea of who our audience is today. That would be great. Thank you.
Hi, sorry, I'm confused. Introduce out loud or introduce in chat?
You could do it in the chat, Marcus. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to get started. So thank you again for attending our career panel tonight. It is focused on community engagement and education careers in the life sciences. To start off, we're going to give a quick program overview. The LifeSci NYC internship program is part of the city's initiative to grow the life science industry. The New York Economic Development Corporation, also known as NYC EDC, it is their 10-year, $1 billion initiative to grow the life sciences industry in New York City. Our program offers paid internships as well as part-time and full-time job opportunities for college and graduate students in either the science or business management track. Just to note that our summer application deadline is on March 31st. If you have any questions about that, feel free to send it in the chat and then our team will answer your questions. To date, we have placed over 800 college and graduate students into paid internships at nearly 200 life sciences companies and nonprofit organizations in the city. We currently have over almost 100 open career focused internships and jobs, with more coming in all the time. This is a single location where you just need to complete one application and you have access to the job listings at multiple companies. Essentially, we are doing all the research for you, so you don't have to figure out which companies are currently hiring. On our next slide, you'll see that we created a series of career profiles. These career profiles offer an overview of career options in the life sciences industry. Each profile includes the details about educational requirements. You can see what types of roles are available. You can read about the tasks and responsibilities, learn what are important skills to develop, as well as see what professionals say about their roles. And because we are doing a career panel on community engagement and science education, I want to show you what our career profile is for science education. As you can see here, this one is for science education. The top provides an overview, so you can see who should apply for these roles, what are the type of roles that are available, as well as common task and responsibility, who is hiring in New York City. And then on the next page, you can see that we have listed skills and qualities that you are expected to develop for this field, as well as quotes from our alumni. And if you are interested in these career profiles, Sharon has shared in the chat a link to our career profiles. And then on this slide is just our resource slide. We have our website information. If you have any questions, you can contact us at internships@upperweststrategies.com. We also offer office hours where we're happy to meet with our applicants to talk about our program, help you workshop your resume, your cover letter, as well as prep for interviews. You are more than welcome to join our meetup group where we send emails letting you know about updates for our program. And then on the right-hand side, we have a bunch of professional resources, such as our resume cheat sheet, cover letter cheat sheet, interview tips and practice questions, writing professional email cheat sheet, as well as our career profiles. And then with that, I want to start introducing our panelists. So Meredith, would you mind starting off for us, please?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Meredith Beckford Smart. I am the current executive director for GenSpace. My career path is pretty interesting. My undergrad degree is in biology, and when I graduated, I wasn't too sure where I wanted to be. And sometimes I always have to go back to the original story. I actually started off with a focus in pharmacy. So I went to LIU Brooklyn campus, wanted to be a pharmacist, did the internships at different pharmacies, and I decided that wasn't for me because I wanted to spend more time interacting with people. So when I graduated, someone said you would make such an amazing science teacher. And I said, hey, why not? Sent me to interview. Honestly, she was looking for someone to fill a role at her school. And so she sent me to interview, and I actually chose a different school than the school which she was affiliated with. And so I started teaching in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, a middle school, science teacher. But there's always a shortage area in math. And so the principal kind of had me do something probably unconventional, which was create a science and math integrated curriculum. And at the time, there wasn't that word that everyone uses, which is called STEM. And so it really just started from there. I really enjoyed that particular position, working with the young people, seeing the potential that they had in terms of enjoying and engaging with science, especially if they know that you are invested in their learning and truly care. And then from there, I moved from another school, and I felt like at that time, I really honed in on all the classroom management skills, and I just wanted to do more and reach more people. So I decided, hey, why not get a doctorate in education? And then that's how I ended up at Teachers College, Columbia University. There weren't a lot of people doing a PhD track who had actual classroom experience, which is surprising for a science educator. So they invited me to create curriculum and provide professional development for their teachers. And that just opened up a whole new world of what science ed could be. And so I've been in that role for over 20 years, writing curriculum, managing and developing programs, which really moved me into managing organizations. And so I did a lot of organization development and organization management and leadership. And that's how I'm here today at GenSpace. So I did a lot of work in nonprofit organizations.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing, Meredith. Marisa, would you like to introduce yourself next, please? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Sally, and hello, everybody. My name is Marisa Mitchell. I am the Executive Director of Hypothekids. We provide STEAM education, training, and internships to K through 12 students from low-income families or backgrounds that have been historically underrepresented in STEAM fields. We have K through 8 hands-on STEAM programming that's designed to help young children realize that high-tech pursuits are exciting and available to them. And we have 3 high school programs that train students in engineering design, social science research, and how to be STEAM educators so that we support their path towards academic and career success. As executive director, I oversee all aspects of the organization, including programming, fundraising, accounting, HR, you name it. I like wearing many hats. How did I get into this role? Ever since I was a little girl, I was always interested in social justice and helping to even the economic playing field. When I was a little girl, I played with dolls and I imagined that they had been abandoned and that I ran a home that would take them in and care for them. My parents thought I was going to be a public defender because whenever my siblings got into arguments, I always stood up for the one I thought was being treated unfairly. So because of who I was and what was ingrained in me, it was very important for me to pursue jobs in mission-driven organizations. I got a BA in sociology and started my career working for social welfare research organizations. So my background is in social science research as opposed to STEAM. However, I do have people working for me who are scientists in addition to being interested in education. So I started off working on projects evaluating the effectiveness of government education, health, and anti-poverty programs. And I also wanted to work more directly with people. So I got my master's in social work and thinking I would become a therapist, but ended up in the diversity education space. I ran trainings and I wrote articles to promote respect for religious and other differences. Then I had an opportunity through family to become involved in tech startups, software and biotech. And these were also mission driven. The last one I worked for was Rover Diagnostics. I was the director of administration. This was an R&D company that's developing rapid PCR technology. So it was very much in response to the COVID pandemic. So when the executive director position at Hypothekids opened up, I saw it as a great way to combine these 2 sets of skills and experiences. And that's how I ended up there.
Great, thank you for sharing. Rachel, do you mind introducing yourself next?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Rachel Swanson. I'm the manager of environmental education at Hudson River Park. So Hudson River Park is the park along the west side of Manhattan from Chambers Street to West 59th Street. And the department that I work in, we are a really unique department that combines education and research and science. So what I do is I oversee public programs and school programs that are really focused on connecting New York City students and New York City, people of all ages, to feel connected to the Hudson River and the wildlife that lives here in New York City's green spaces. So we do that through a variety of different programs like field trip programs, free catch and release fishing programs, science lectures, and things like that. So I help manage a team of educators. I help write curriculum. I build partnerships with schools and local organizations to really create fun and exciting hands-on science education for New Yorkers. The path to my current career. So I've been in my current position for about a year, year and a half now. Before this, I was bouncing around from other informal science education cultural organizations here in New York City, like New York Aquarium, Brooklyn Botanic Garden, and the Central Park Zoo. And I was always working in an educator role. When I was in college, getting my degree in psychology, I really found that I had a passion for connecting with kids. And it was through an internship opportunity actually in college that I found my passion for informal science education, and that was a really fun, engaging way to combine my interest of interacting with the public and students, and also my passion for nature and for science. So from there, I kind of just got my foot in the door, continued to work at different informal science education organizations. I went on to get my master's in museum education. And here I am today, continuing to work in that field, which is a lot of fun and never a dull moment.
That's great. Thank you, Rachel. And Luis, do you mind going ahead and introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Luz. I'm the lead community scientist with BioBuzz. BioBuzz is a nonprofit based in New York. We have different teams in the Bronx, Harlem, and Lower East Side. And what we do is we run programs, internships, after-school programs, and also programs in schools. So my role entails booking schools, also a little bit of research, and connecting people and partners to what we do. So that's basically what I do all day long. I work from home, but I also teach. Today I was at a school teaching. I'm originally from Guatemala, so I was teaching at a school with only Spanish speakers, which was a lot of fun. But that's part of what I love about my job. That is very diverse. I get to do many different things. And how did I decide to get into it? Well, I guess that my love for science and life and nature was what got me to this career. I have an undergrad in biology. I went to Brazil. I got a scholarship to study the Amazon rainforest. And after just realizing how incredible and biodiverse the Amazon rainforest was, I wanted to let everyone know how amazing nature is. So then I undertook my master's in science communication when I got to learn more about how to communicate science to different audiences. And after that, I understood that I wanted to know more about education, and that transition between science and education was something important, because as a scientist, I am used to think a lot like very rationally, but when you are in an educator role, it's important to know also like, oh, what happened? Oh, my screen just, sorry. So yeah, I was saying about transitioning into a social science PhD that I'm currently on. So I'm a third-year student at Fordham University in education, and I'm studying and intend to do my dissertation on how to reach and make sense, how the kids and young people can make more sense of science. So I'm very focused on that, and that's what I wanted to say. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you all for the great introduction. It's really exciting to hear your different paths. So my first question is, what courses and experiences did you find most helpful in preparing you for your career? And Rachel, do you mind starting us off?
Yeah, definitely. So in my specific career, the courses that I've taken in school that I actually felt were the most helpful, in my undergrad experience, I studied psychology, but I really focused on child development. And I felt that those courses were incredibly helpful in my future work, working with kids of all ages. So how can you create educational programs, activities that meet children where they are at that stage in their life? Later on in my master's program, some courses that I found were really helpful were curriculum development, and honestly, one of these classes I took was all about partnerships. So how to build partnerships with schools, organizations to help improve your educational programming. I thought that was really, really helpful. And in addition to like courses I've taken in school, I really have felt like the most beneficial components for me were internships and jobs. The way I got into this field was through an internship program, and that's what really made me fall in love with science education, which has turned into my career for the past 10 years. So volunteering and internships, I think, are really, really important when you're trying to figure out what you want to do. It's a good way to test things out.
Thank you. Would another panelist like to answer that question? What courses and experiences did you find most helpful in preparing you for your career?
I'll answer that. I think mine is very varied. I will definitely have to start with my undergrad biology. It really inspired me because I truly enjoy practicing and learning about science. But I also had a couple of experience in undergrad that really, I would say, was beneficial in terms of who I am as a person. And I did a minor in women's studies. So I think that really added to my perspective and added to my worldview in terms of equity. That was, I feel, my first dive into looking at equity and access. But then I also worked at New York Hall of Science as an explainer. And so that really opened up my eyes into informal science education. Even though I did not know that I was going to be a teacher at the time, that was really a really good experience for me that really set the groundwork of how I would move forward as a science educator unexpectedly. But then I would go on to say, when I did my graduate degree and working on my doctorate, I took a lot of courses in organizational leadership because at one point I told myself I really wanted to work in the Department of Ed and work in terms of like leading districts in science, but that all changed. I don't want to do that. But that was a good experience because it gave me a perspective on how to manage and understand how organizations work. And in this work, it's a lot of, you spend a lot of time working with organizations through change. And so that would say gave me a good background and perspective on understanding change. But I would say my best experiences would have been with organizations where I had to really get in and really learn the work of an organization, developing budgets, writing curriculum, managing organizations. I have no problem naming one organization, which is called New York Edge, which is one of the largest provider of after-school programs in New York City. And that was a huge experience because it's developing curriculum and developing programs across New York City, 5 different boroughs, but finding a way to leave the curriculum open enough so that it could be adapted to the different communities and cultures that we would engage with across the organization, making sure that it was culturally relevant and responsive. And so I would say I learned a lot in that role, even though it was one of the most challenging, I learned a lot in that experience. So hands down, I would give New York Edge like so much credit because it really challenged me.
Can I add something to that? I think that some courses that I took related to philosophy of science and also history of science helped me understood how science is made and why science is important in our daily life. So that's what got me into social justice and why is it important to bring science to communities. So I think those, even though you're like in an engineer or in a STEM career, it's always important to have this social science component to your studies.
That's great. Thank you. Marisa, do you have anything to add?
I do. I would say in general, the experiences that taught me soft skills as opposed to hard skills were the most valuable in my career. I think the human behavior classes I took in social work school were very beneficial in managing a team and dealing effectively with crises and different personalities. The other experience I can think of is back the summer before I went to college, I was a canvasser going door to door, asking people to contribute to a clean water campaign. And it was a very daunting role. And I was young, I had to go door to door with complete strangers, sometimes didn't always get the best welcome, but it taught me how to advocate for a cause, how to be persuasive. And that has carried over into my current role where I champion Hypotha Kids work and try to attract lots of supporters.
I'm hearing a lot about professional skills being a really important skill set for doing community engagement and science education. And for one, I do a lot of like office hours with students and we do like interview prep. So what are some skills that you think are really important for students to have, or like maybe other skills that you've developed that you think has really helped you move forward in your career, or even interview questions that you think is really important for students to be able to answer as you're assessing their candidacy? And how about Luis, do you mind starting us off first?
Yes, of course. I think that an important skill is to listen to questions and how to answer them objectively. So that's something very important, to understand the question and try to answer it as honest and clear as possible. Yeah, I'll let other panelists answer too.
I can answer. Well, what I look for when interviewing candidates is not simply somebody who wants to fit themselves into the role and be somebody they're not so that they'll be attractive to the interviewer, but somebody who's authentic. And I look at it as a two-way process where I'm also being interviewed because the interviewee may not be happy in my position. So you need to ask the right questions to find out, is it a place you're going to be happy, and not just go for any role because it's available. So I look for someone who's trying to see if they'll really be a good fit in the role.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, I really do think it is so important to ask those questions about the role when you're interviewing. Like you were just saying, Marisa, I'm going through a hiring process right now for some of our positions, and it really demonstrates that you are interested in the job and want the job when you're asking questions, what does a typical day look like? Asking maybe some follow-ups to some things on the job description. I always really like to see candidates doing that. And in addition to that, some of the skills that I look for, communication, right? Public speaking, especially in community engagement and education. Are you able to connect with people and get that message across, whatever that message may be, if it's about protecting the Hudson River or whatever it may be? Are you able to take sometimes some really difficult topics if we're talking about science, right? And how are you able to distill it and communicate it to your audience? So that's often something I'm looking for, is just those communication skills.
I guess I can add to that too. I definitely agree with authenticity, always looking for the the real you that shows up in the interview, but also in the workplace. But I think added value is also being comfortable sharing life experiences and how does that relate to the people that you may work with, the communities that you may work with, and then being able to show up and look at the world with a lens of empathy and understanding. And I think that is a big piece for a lot of the roles that I've been in the positions and organizations, because we do a lot of people work. And so working with people, in order to make a connection, you also have to be empathetic. And so having those skills is always important.
Great, thank you for answering that question. That's helpful for me too, as I'm working with a lot of students and helping them prep as they move forward in their career. Our next question is, can you share an innovative or unconventional approach that you've taken to engage with the community or educate people about the life sciences that had a significant impact? Marisa, do you want to start us off?
Sure. The first thing that came to mind was outreach that I had made to a life science real estate developer. And I went to an event they hosted, not knowing what to expect, not knowing if something was going to come out of it. This often happens. Sometimes if you just show up, amazing things happen. It turned out that they wanted to engage with the community, and Hypothekids would be a good conduit for that. So out of that initial event came multiple ways in which West End Labs is helping us engage with the community. They are hosting they're hosting our gala, first of all, next fall, which is great, our 10th anniversary gala. They are also hosting an engineering camp we're running in partnership with the DOE for middle school students, and they're providing tours of their space, which is a beautiful space. So I think of that as an interesting angle into expanding our programming, partnering with real estate developers. It makes sense because they have a ton of tenants, who can help our students.
I can talk about GenSpace, and I would guess some people will see it as unconventional, but as a community lab, we have a lot of artists that work within the lab, which are also bio artists. And recently we had a collaboration with BioBat Art Space. And so we had an art exhibit which featured the bio artists that work with GenSpace. And so for me, that was unconventional, but it was a good opportunity for people to kind of get a sense of what a scientist can do or who are scientists. And a lot of people do not see artists as scientists. However, I do. And why do I see artists as scientists, especially bio artists, is because they come together to solve a solution creatively. And that's what scientists do, right? We solve problems. And a lot of the bio artists that do work out of GenSpace, there is a sustainability lens. So it is trying to find problems, solve problems through a space with a space around looking at how can we be better stewards of our planet. And so I felt like that collaboration with BioBat Art Space was unconventional because people really don't get an opportunity to see artists as life scientists as well.
I can talk a little bit about what we do at BioBuzz and maybe a different approach to science education is that we hear a lot from the communities. So we're scientists, but we're there to hear their own experience so they can bring it to us and we can tell them, or we can help them solve the problems that they've identified in their own communities, like internships. They are very worried about composting or water problems, so they do their own research and we are there just like mentors. But also in different or other programs, we do a lot of citizen science where they are the scientists and we value a lot their own experience and we put a lot of effort in the context. So where is science in your everyday and why is it important? So that's something that we do.
Something new that we've been doing this past year here at Hudson River Park is, so obviously we're a public park, so much of what we are doing is connecting New Yorkers to green spaces, but we also recognize that we live in the Northeast where there's winter and not a lot of people want to go outside in the cold in winter. So how can we connect people to the wildlife that lives here when we can't have our wet lab aquarium open, for instance, in the winter months, which is a place in the park where we have, you know, animals like oyster toadfish and seahorses that live in the Hudson actually in tanks for the public to see. So we developed in collaboration with Google and some other partners a tech space here in the park, a tech forward classroom space where there are interactive touchscreen games to learn about the Hudson River and the wildlife that lives here. So we're trying to kind of hit people at different points of kind of a tech forward space sometimes in some of our programs, using that kind of selectively, figuring out what programs tech is really great and really helps make that connection with the environment, and then using that to complement our outdoor spaces, right? Because we also want to make sure that that's kind of our number one priority. So that's something that we're kind of experimenting with right now, is how do we use tech to complement our environmental science programs in a way that feels good and natural, but like supplemental.
Sally,
That's really neat to hear. Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
Mhm.
I just wanted to add to what Meredith was saying about incorporating the arts in STEAM. We always include the A because we believe there's a strong creative component to STEM. And we actually offer artistic outlets for the students that help in their science. For example, we are doing a partnership with the Moth, which is quite unconventional. Their education program is coming in and training our science research students on how to tell a good story. Now, the stories they're going to tell are very personal, not related to STEAM necessarily, but the format they learn about will be helpful when presenting the stories of their research. So there's an example of how something creative like storytelling can be applied and how it is important to incorporate the arts into STEM.
Great, thank you for adding that. Our next question is, what makes you proud about working in this sector in the science industry? whether it's community engagement and or science education. Meredith, can you start us off?
Sure. I guess what makes me proud is the opportunity to work with community and have positive impact in community. And I think when I'm looking at GenSpace, and something that I didn't share when I did my introduction in terms of how I got into the work and started as a science teacher, when I started teaching in science, I really wanted to find a way to like close or bridge the opportunity gap. And it was really hard for me to figure out how to do it because the gap is so big, right? And we know how the US performs in terms of science overall. But when I got to GenSpace, it was like the aha moment for me, like, oh, this is it. This is the answer. This is how you can close the gap by providing a space that is, I want to say, inclusive of everyone from all backgrounds, all different traditions, all different practices in terms of your career. You can just be an artist, you can be a journalist, you can be a scientist, quote unquote, or you could just be a person that's interested in exploring. And so GenSpace provides that space that bridges that barrier of what a scientist looks like and really gives you an opportunity to reinvent that. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and as a science teacher, there's always this exercise that you do on your first day working with students. And it's like, hey, you give out the index card and you ask young people to draw what a scientist looks like, right? And my experience, when they draw the picture of what a scientist looks like, it never looks like them. And it actually doesn't look like someone they want to be, which can be daunting. But when you go to GenSpace, you can find like a scientist looks like you. So ultimately, at the end of the activity, for me, at the end, I would always want a young person to be able to envision themselves as a scientist. And so working in a space like GenSpace makes me proud because it gives me an opportunity to have young people see themselves as a scientist, and not just young people, anyone, because we work with young people all the way to people that are retired. And it's just a really comfortable space and welcoming. And so that's what I'm proud of.
That's really, really lovely. And I feel like I have kind of a similar answer as well, with what I'm most proud of about working in this field. So much of what we do here at Hudson River Park has to do with creating environmental stewards. So not only introducing people to the natural spaces and wildlife that lives here in New York, but how can we protect and conserve these spaces and these animals? So seeing that kind of like spark in kids' faces when they understand, whoa, there are seahorses in the Hudson River. Well, we have to make sure that, you know, we're keeping that water clean, that we're picking up that plastic debris. So seeing those students turn into those environmental stewards is really rewarding. And you can really see that impact from the beginning to the end of a program, which is, like I said, really rewarding.
I can answer the question on two levels. First, I'm proud of the impact that Hypothekids has on our students. I love it when we get an email from someone who says, you changed my life. I'm pursuing this major because of my experience in your training program. It's very rewarding. I'm also proud of being a part of the whole New York Metro life science community. I'm constantly impressed with how many people want to donate their time and energy and also money to the cause that, and we're just kind of flooded with internship hosts, mostly from Columbia. We have many guest speakers for our students from the life science industry who have extremely busy jobs, but they take time out of their schedules to come and speak to our students and expose them to different career paths. So I'm very happy to be part of the life science community here and to be among these great panelists as well who are doing such amazing work and are so articulate about it.
Yeah. Well, similarly to everyone, I think that the practice and seeing the impact immediately is something that really makes me proud. And also, as I told you before, teaching in Spanish and talking to people in different languages and just trying to meet them where they are at and just telling them how amazing science is and it's possible for everyone to. That's something that makes me really proud and really happy to be working at BioBuzz because we have that space to go to these different communities. So that's something that I love.
Thank you, everyone. That was really heartwarming to hear. And I personally came from, I have a biology major, and after graduation, I did like research, and then I also did science education. My first internship in New York City was actually at Hudson River Park as an environmental educator. And I will say, like, just going through my career path, like all the skills I learned in science education, a lot of it was with like speaking, and it was really rewarding to be able to engage with the community and just like hear and see how they're feeling all the time. So I'm sure like you all really enjoy your job. And I just want to say like thank you for doing this. It is a lot of work, I know, but I hope you all just really truly like keep it in your hearts and keep going. And with that, I'm going to open it up to questions and answers from the audience. We have a question from Leonandra. After graduating college, how was the process of looking for a job? Was it networks that helped you get a foot in the door for a job, or just consistently applying and landing a job? Does anyone want to start first?
I can start. So I've been working with BioBuzz for 2 years, but I always loved their mission. So I volunteered with them for almost 2 years, and I got to understand the culture and met a lot of people who are my coworkers now. So I asked a lot of questions. And after volunteering for 2 years, I was able to apply for an interview and I went really well. And now I'm here. So yeah, a lot of networking too.
Yeah, I agree that networking is definitely really important. That's how I've gotten a lot of my jobs is by, reaching out to people, trying to make those connections, making connections through internships and volunteering. But I also think it's a mix of both, right? You have to network and you have to just put your resume out there and apply to as many jobs as possible. So I actually think it's a mix of both. And what I always say to folks when I'm talking to them is it never really hurts to ask, right? If you know someone, oh, I think I know someone that works at that organization, I really like them. Doesn't really hurt to reach out and ask, right? Like the worst comes to worst, they don't respond or nothing comes of it. Or you could make a connection with them that becomes something down the road.
Yeah, I would like to add on to that. Like I shared in my original story, when I graduated undergrad, I like to talk to people. And so it was just a conversation. And then she's like, oh, what are you going to do when you finish? I'm like, I'm not too sure. You'll make a great teacher. And that was just having conversation. So I will add to networking, being open to meet people because you never know where a conversation may lead to. I would say most of the positions that I had all started from having a conversation, getting to know people. I did apply for roles as well, but eventually once you apply for the role, again, it's with a conversation and then having commonalities in people you may know who they may reach out to kind of reference check who you are. So keep your network strong is what I would always say as a good advice.
I highly agree with what everyone just said. I was trying to think every job I got, I think, was through reaching out to somebody in my personal and professional network. I think I got my first job out of college through a resident advisor in my dorm, and then I got the second job through a coworker from that first job. So it's always helpful to know somebody who has a connection to the role you're interested in. I mean, I know that's not always possible, but I have grown kids and two in their 20s, and sometimes they're reluctant to reach out to potential to their personal networks. They don't want to bother them. And I think what Rachel was saying, don't let that stop you. You have nothing to lose. It is the best route to a job, for better or worse. So I say don't hold back, and don't worry about bothering anyone. Just go for it and try to show up at as many networking events, link in with as many relevant people as possible.
Thank you all for sharing. And like, I absolutely understand that networking is really important. And especially for students, it is a difficult skill to achieve, but we really want to encourage you to just start, and eventually, hopefully, you become more comfortable little by little, but you have to start to get there. And even if it's just talking with like your friends, you can always feel free to practice with them and then start attending networking events. Even if you decide to like make a goal in your mind, be like, okay, I'm at this event. My goal is just talk to like 2 people I don't know. That is just great practice to just start networking. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next question. The next question is about kind of towards interview. What are good follow-up questions to ask in an interview?
I had a very interesting follow-up question, which made me think. I hesitated for a moment, but it made this candidate stand out. And it was, what changes do you hope to see in the organization, and how will you implement those changes? I was very impressed. It was unique. It was very big picture, and it showed an interest in the organization as a whole, and a direction in the direction of the organization. So it was very impressive. I like that question.
A very simple one that I think is a really great question, and I forget who was talking about this before, but how you're also kind of interviewing for, kind of the reverse as well. Like, you want to make sure that this role will be a good fit for you. So this is really a simple question, but asking whoever's interviewing you, what is your favorite part about working at this organization, or what is your favorite part about your role? Because it can give you a lot of information about the role that you're applying and interviewing for, and if it will be a good fit for you. So I really think that's a good one to get an insight into maybe the work culture, and other things like that.
Great. We have a question for Louise specifically. What is your favorite part of working at BioBus? We have someone that just applied to an awesome BioBus internship and is super excited.
Yay! What I love about BioBus is the organization's culture, I guess. Everyone is very mission driven. We're there because we believe in what we're doing. We love science, and we have a lot of very interesting partnerships with different people and projects. So I personally love research, so I do a lot of that, and that's my favorite part of the job. But other people do a lot of teaching, some other work with internships. So depending on what you like, you can choose what part of your skills you want to develop, and there's room for that. It's a very friendly environment. So yeah, I love working there, and good luck with the interview.
Thank you. And then I got a direct message. We have someone that is interested about research opportunities directly from GenSpace or BioBus. Meredith, do you want to talk a little bit about that perspective in GenSpace?
Sure. So I guess right now at GenSpace, we're at a beautiful time because we are launching our pilot Break into Biotech initiative, which really gives people an opportunity to build or gain science and lab tech skills. It is open to anyone, actually anyone, as long as you have a high school diploma. It's 3 months long, and it's really geared towards getting people into the biotech field after the 3 months. So I think that's really exciting. There is opportunity in the last 2 months to really spend some time doing research around a particular project. So you will get that opportunity. But then the other exciting thing about GenSpace 2 is that we have community projects, and we have 3 community projects that are happening right now. One is Open Plant, where they are working with the liverwort plant to have it express insulin, which I think is interesting and can be a game changer because we know that insulin is is expensive. So if you're able to express insulin from a plant, the possibility is that you can probably grow the plant in your yard and have insulin to use at a fairly low cost. We also have, I think one of my favorites is the Biomaterial Studio, where they have like different recipes that they work on Mondays, trying to make different types of materials from biomass material. Think, for example, I'm really into like the bioplastics and the bioglass. I think I really got into that. I'm like, hey, I need to start making some jewelry. So that's really fun and exciting. And we are opening it up for people to become a member of that. And that's probably one of the least expensive membership. And the other one is the Engineered Matter. The last thing that I know that they made is art installation out of mycelium. And then, there's individual membership. So there's a lot of different entry points to do research at GenSpace. And so I would say to give us a call, come by and visit, take one of our classes. We do have internships that's offered through LifeSci NYC. So look out for one of those postings and apply to that as well, or just give us a call.
Great, thank you. And Luis, did you want to go ahead? You unmuted.
Really quick
Okay.
about BioBus. Research-wise, we have some research with NYU, the Exploratorium in San Francisco, and they're related to science and evaluation and assessment. So that's a lot of what I do. But we also have like 2 open positions for community scientists. So you'll be doing a lot of teaching and also research on any of those partnerships, or there are others that we have right now. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. And I also want to highlight that we currently within the LifeSci NYC internship program, we have open positions at all 4 organizations, GenSpace, Hypothekids, Hudson River Park, BioBus. So if you are interested, if you haven't already, apply for our application. Once you apply, you get access to our job portal. From there, all you need to do is submit a cover letter. We'll do the screening, and if you're a good fit, we'll forward you over to the organization, and then they'll reach out to schedule you for an interview if they find that you are a strong candidate. And with that, oh yeah, thank you, Sharon, for reminding me. Our summer application deadline for summer internship, you have to apply by March 31st. So tomorrow we'll send a follow-up email, including a link to this video, and you can ask us any questions about the application, but we just want to say thank you again for taking the time. Thank you, our panelists, for joining us and sharing about your career. We really appreciate hearing it. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your evening. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Sally. Bye-bye.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.